Well, you all already know we have a massive amount of work to do here before Christmas, and presumably we'll get started on serious bills that we have to pass sometime before the end of the year. Certainly high among those would be the defense authorization bill. Speaking of defense, I think the Biden administration has been too slow if they really want to help Ukraine win. Finally, belatedly, they did something yesterday that the Speaker and I suggested they do 6 months ago, which is let them use the ATACMS in the way that they think best helps them win the war. This is a repeat of the effort to instruct the Israelis how to conduct their war. I think when we're allied with our supporters and allies around the world that we're trying to help, we ought to tell them it's in their judgment. They have to live there. They have to live with the results. Don't tell them how to try to win the war. And so I'm relieved that the ATACMS ban, in effect, has been taken off the shoulders of the Ukrainians, but it should have been done months ago.
Well, it's been over 13 months now since Hamas terrorists waged war against Israel, and for the past year plus, Democrats have struggled to support our ally Israel and has literally fractured the Democrat Party. For example, we are expecting tomorrow Senator Sanders to offer a resolution denying lethal aid to Israel. The refusal to have our allies back and the hesitation to call out anti-Semitism in our own country has consequences. It enables bad behavior and bad actors around the world, and it encourages others to abandon Israel in their time of need. Now you have the International Criminal Court, or the ICC, and its prosecutor pursuing warrants against Israeli officials. That is outrageous, and it is unlawful. The ICC rogue actions are a threat to our ally Israel, and left unchecked, it could pose a threat to America in the future. I am calling on Leader Schumer to bring a bill to the floor sanctioning the ICC, which the House has already passed on a bipartisan basis. And if he refuses to act, our Senate Republican majority next year will. We will stand with Israel and make this and other supportive legislation a top priority in the next Congress. So to our allies in Israel and to the Jewish people around the world, my message to you is this: reinforcements are on the way. Senate Republicans reclaim the majority in 6 weeks, and when we do, we will make clear that the United States Congress stands squarely in Israel's corner, and we will help the Trump-Vance administration defend Israel and promote peace in the region.
Americans have overwhelmingly voted to get America back on track, and Republicans are ready to act. President Trump can act right away after his inauguration to secure the border. He can act right away to remove the handcuffs from American energy production and kick our economy into high gear. And the Senate is ready to act on nominations. President Trump has made a number of bold nominations, and he's done it at a rapid pace. It should surprise no one that these individuals are fighters who are ready to get the country back on track. Each one deserves a hearing, a fair process, and a timely vote. The United States Senate will hold hearings once we get into office on January the 3rd, and then we will hold votes on each of these nominees starting the day that President Trump is inaugurated. And I just wanted to remind people in terms of the voting schedule on that what the Democrats said just weeks before Joe Biden took office. This is Chuck Schumer, the end of 2020. He said that votes on Inauguration Day, he said, is traditional for a new president. Well, Republicans plan to plow ahead. That's what we're going to do because there's a lot of work to be done. We've got to get prices down. We've got to get the border secure. We need to unleash American energy and regain American strength in the world. The American people are ready for us to act, and Republicans are ready to act as well.
Well, hello, everyone. This last weekend, I completed my 10th annual River to River tour in Iowa, and I have heard from Iowans in all of my 99 counties. And you know what? Iowans have spoken loud and clear. And I don't care what the gold standard poll in Iowa said. Iowans are tired of out-of-control spending. They are tired of our open southern border, and they are tired of seeing our world in chaos. And so we have an opportunity to change now. Again, because not only Iowa, but the rest of the United States spoke. We have the White House. We have Republican majority in the House, and we have a Senate Republican majority in January of 2025. So what can our folks expect? Well, we can expect that Republicans will deliver on their promises, just as Iowans want to see. So, number one, we are going to make sure that we calm the world down and that we bring peace and stability all around the globe. We're going to stop this outrageous spending. We're going to start to cut through the bureaucratic red tape out there, and we are going to implement President Trump's agenda, and the world will be good again. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm a bit frustrated. I usually am the eternal optimist to everything, but after last night's voting extravaganza, I wondered, what are we doing? We have a national defense authorization that will set the priorities for our military and our foreign policy, still sitting there on the shelf after it's passed out of committee months ago, and yet Leader Schumer chooses not to go to that very important piece of legislation. We also have 12 appropriations bills that that are going to expire on December the 20th, one of which I have is on labor, health, and education, sitting on the shelf after our leaders on the Appropriations Committee passed these bills out. In July, we completed that exercise with the exception of one of the bills. And yet, last night, we were sitting around voting time and time again for these liberal judges that Chuck Schumer wants to put in and ram through at the very last minute before the balance of power shifts. So I'll just give you an example. One of the nominees that we're voting on today, or I think we just voted on, is Mustafa Kasubai, who is a magistrate judge in Oregon, and his claim to fame is that before you come to his judge, before you come before him as a judge, you have to enumerate your pronouns. I mean, this is the kind of liberal thought and liberal justices and judges that Chuck Schumer and the Biden administration want to push through at the very end. So I would implore our leadership to go to the important issues the American people are thinking about. That's completing our work at the end of the year and moving into next year. And my last comment would be, and I made the same comment last year, Thanksgiving is a particular favorite of mine. I was born on Thanksgiving. My parents were going to call me Thankful Evermore. Moore was my last name. But I think we do a lot of infighting. We all, back and forth to one another. But I think at the bottom line, we have so much to be grateful about and for, not just living in this great country, certainly for us serving, but our families and our loved ones. So I wish all of you a very, very happy Thanksgiving.
Hi, I'm Steve Daines. My pronouns are Republican majority. I have a simple message for Chuck Schumer and for Bob Casey. It's over. Dave McCormick is the next U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. Senator Casey has taken election denial to another level, but it didn't work. Despite losing by nearly 20,000 votes, despite the fact the AP and Decision Desk have called the race for Dave McCormick, Senator Casey is refusing to concede. And in the end, he not only denied the legitimate results of this election, he advocated for lawlessness to overturn it. In fact, just yesterday, he wrote in the Patriot News that ballots that were unsigned should be counted. Under this kind of logic, where does it stop? Even a commissioner in Bucks County went so far as to say, and I quote, "People violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention." This is a dangerous precedent. And fortunately, the left-wing Pennsylvania Supreme Court put an end to this nonsense yesterday. Senator Casey and his Democrat allies, on the other hand, hurt the public's trust in our institutions with their lawless election denial gambit. Any Democrat who went along with them or refused to speak out is complicit. Dave McCormick is the 53rd Republican U.S. Senator. Senator Casey should concede immediately.
Since we all agree this is one of my last stakeouts in my current role, I want to continue the weekly tradition. Manu.
Thank you. Thank you, and this question is for you and Senator Thune. Given how important the Attorney General nomination is, shouldn't senators have access to all the information, including everything the House Ethics Committee found in its investigation into him?
Look, the Constitution gives us a role in personnel called advice and consent. My view is that's exactly what will unfold here when these nominees are actually sent forward, and we'll treat them like we've treated all others with a proper vetting.
Senator Thune, should you say?
You were quoted over the weekend as saying there would be no recess appointments. Can you clarify what you said and what you meant?
Well, we'll see. I haven't addressed that issue.
In any capacity?
No, there have been all kinds of rumors floating around, but I haven't addressed that issue. We'll just see how this unfolds. We've got 6 weeks here, or actually 2 months.
Would you oppose any efforts to do recess appointments?
As a practical matter, do you think President Trump could actually force the Senate to take a recess? And what do you think about the idea of appointing some of these high-level cabinet positions during a recess and circumventing the Senate's advice and consent role?
Well, if you're asking basically the same question I just got, my answer remains, we'll see what happens between now and the new administration. And at that point, nominations can actually be sent forward, and we'll figure out how to handle them then. And I'm confident that we'll engage the same kind of vetting process that we have historically done under both parties for these nominees.
Mr. Leader.
Pardon?
Do you want a year-end omnibus spending bill, or would you prefer, at this point, a continuing resolution?
I'm sorry?
Do you want an omnibus spending bill at the end of the year?
That's yet to be determined as well, and there are pros and cons both ways. We'll just see how it plays out.
Leader McConnell.